Creating a data and AI strategy in 2025 can feel nearly impossible. As a technical product owner myself, I understand the difficulties of tech, data, and structural requirements on a battlefield level. But I also understand the goals and perceptions of leadership when it comes to AI and data. Today, I'm going to provide a framework that I use with clients to build a cohesive data and AI strategy based on the day to day operations and processes of your business. Let's dive in. So, before we actually go into co creating the wireframe for a data strategy, I just wanted to bring you to my website to talk about the different perspectives of humans and how we look at AI and data in our necessary realms. So, when we look at data, I look at it as an iceberg. This is a strategy that I've started to develop through years of product management, really looking at the operations of data at the ground level and routing them up to the goals of organizations and leaders at the higher levels of management. So when we think about a C suite leader, we think about large organizational changes and investment into AI, tools into AI, enterprise approaches into AI, and the effectiveness and efficiencies without. Those discussions are way more focused on investments and looking at these tools at a macro view. As we go into the senior leadership and more the director level, we're looking at specific goals that are relevant to specific functions of the business: sales, operations, efficiency, and effectiveness. They all might differ based on where we sit at an organization, and that's how we and other folks are viewing AI. The further you go down, you start to see the weekly and monthly cadence of executions, the week to week operations, and more of those hands on tasks that humans are bound to. As we go underneath that surface of the iceberg, we really start to see more of that data and technical remit where there's the users building and curating and supporting other parts of the business with data, whether that be an automation, a visualization, or a management sense. And as we go even further into that, we see the engineers and the developers working in the warehouse to orchestrate data across various parts of the business. And really, where we see is this bottom is this idea of creating an AI center of excellence with AI throughout and data that's relevant to each user. And as we view this, this is really how I have been building out an approach to data strategy. And now I'm going to show you the wireframe that I use to build with clients. So, as we peel back these layers of goals, what we start to see is individual and contributor level goals at the organizational level by remit. So, let's start at the top. As a president of an organization or a leader, you are really tasked to grow the business in the direction into which the shareholders or the leadership or the board wants you to drive it. So, in this particular instance, let's look at increasing sales by 10%. That is a reasonable goal that leaders today are tasked with in using data and AI to reach that particular achievement. Now, what equates to a sales boost by 10%? The sales department, the relationship management department, the marketing department might have a goal of increasing sales of a particular product by 20%. That in perpetuity is their data strategy. Underneath that goal, there are inputs, outbound marketing, inbound marketing, sales that ultimately affect that goal. If we switch lanes a little bit and look at manufacturing, when it comes to quality production, quality manufacturing, and logistics, that team has an entirely separate data strategy built with different quantifiable goals. They might be looking at an efficiency play as opposed to a boost in sales. We might look at account management trying to improve client retention, thus, a different strategy for their respective goals. Now, each of these, as we go beneath the layers, has more of a quantifiable approach into understanding the inputs and the requirements that help us as humans meet these goals. So, going back to sales, how do we increase sales of product X by 20%? Well, that might actually just mean getting 100 new customers or 1,000 new product sales. And when we think about the overarching mechanisms of getting to those areas, those achievements, that data might be deeply baked into Salesforce or Power BI. So the question comes to analytics and access and activation. And as we go up, we start to see the top down data strategy meet with the realities of the bottom up strategy. What are the realities of the day to day data inside the warehouse? What's being done? What's being executed on in an automatic perspective? And how can engineers and analysts route up necessary opportunities to their business units based on their remit of AI? So when I go through this framework, what I do is I co-build this approach to develop an AI and data strategy that's actually personalized to each department and each team. and ultimately each human. And this is really where I see organizations accelerating and really getting ahead of the competition with internalizing AI and data strategy at a mechanism for growth. If this is something that you and your team can benefit from, reach out to me today and we can co craft a data strategy built for you and your people. At AI Profits, I do this week to week, day to day, helping leaders, managers, and developers build strategies that are cohesively effective for their business. Thank you and have a nice day.